Well, hello to one and all. This is the third episode of the mini series that we loosely termed as How to Fix Indian Cricket. Uh, in the first two episodes, we've already had a discussion on the all format fixation with Indian cricket and the irrelevance of all the domestic tournaments. As always, I have Gurkirat and Nikhil with me to discuss this topic that we have termed loosely termed scheduling for this third and final edition of this video series. But before we dive in, Gurkirat, Nikhil, how are you?
I'm good. I'm a little disappointed after what happened in the qualifiers yesterday with Zimbabwe. Really wanted them to make it through given how they started, but yeah, slightly disappointed on that front. And now looking forward to the third test, and yeah, hopefully a result in maybe we get a series result in the third test as well, because I would be very interested in looking forward to the content that comes from the English media if England go on to lose the third test, because I am
Uh,
100% sure that will be far more entertaining than what the cricket has happened right now. Because that is not that is always my favorite part of the Ashes series, just reading what the English and Australia media are writing about each other and each other's teams, because it might seem petty at some points, but it's also extremely entertaining.
Entertaining. Yep, definitely can't disagree with that. Nikhil, for you, it's non-stop, right? It's a heavy cricket season, like it always is.
Yeah, ideal times. As you see, Bangladesh have made heavy weather against Afghanistan already in the ODI ongoing. So that's a good sign. Again, another game where the lesser known teams are telling you that please have everybody on the same stage, have a bigger comp, actually term it World Cup and not 6 teams, 6 or 10 privileged teams playing it just when they want it. So, but yeah. But again, actually, just Kurkirat, England are 2-0 up. So I don't know which series result are you talking about, because they are winning the moral ashes.
Yeah, first test England won, of course.
Yeah, of
Second
course.
test Stokes won. So
And
it's like
even if Australia win, Broad will come
yeah,
out and say that I will void it. So
yeah,
it's a
because we
good
were trying
good
something
thing.
new. This was baseball, so I think this series does not count.
Yeah,
Trial ball,
because
trial ball.
Jack Leach was injured.
Yeah,
Because Jack Leach was
experimental,
Actually,
injured, so this series was
experimental
trial
cancelled.
mode.
yeah, trial ball is a better word, maybe.
Yeah.
Broad can use it.
Yep, and yeah, I echo Gurkirat's statement. No, around Zimbabwe not making it, I had the same feeling. I sort of assumed कि Zimbabwe Scotland को तो हरा ही देगा यार, and Pramod, our own Peter De La Pena, was like, no man, just wait and watch. There'll be a thrashing. Zimbabwe would be 20 odd for three, and I mean, he just loosely ends up saying these statements, and they end up turning true. So yeah, I mean, good for Scotland, heartbreaking for Zimbabwe, but it is what it is. We'll shift our focus back to Indian cricket at the moment, where there is a big lull, a lull that we are not used to, and the Indian cricketers are not used to, and that is the topic for today. That the scheduling, which the Indian players undergo. Before we get into the details of what we're going to discuss today, I recommend everyone who's watching to check out the first and the second episode if you've not done so already. Meanwhile, we'll get started. And before we start, I just want to have a graph up for everyone to see. Now, this is a graph on ODIs and T20Is that were played in the year 2022. Now, there is a reason I've picked year 2022 is because that was the year when normalcy sort of came back. 2021, there were some series cancellation due to COVID. 2020, same thing. 2023 is still running. So I just wanted to paint a picture of how much cricket do India play, looking at just one year. Now, in the year 2022, India played 24 ODIs, which was 12, I mean, almost double the amount England played, and definitely way more than all the other teams. And similarly, they ended up playing 40 T20s, which is again way more than any other team played, and definitely way more than both England and Australia played. And this does not include the 2 month of IPL period where all the Indian cricketers are involved, which is not true for all the English and Australian cricketers who do not play a lot in their own leagues, and even in the IPL they take a breather now and again whenever there is an important series on the corner. Now, this beckons a big question, guys. I mean, why do India play so much? And do they actually play a little too much?
See, I'll actually just say that with the kind of resources and the amount of player pool that India have, I don't think India can ever play too much cricket to not make the most of it. With the kind of people and resources that India has, the scheduling also that we have, India can very easily find a player pool for every format and then try out players in a very systematic fashion where they can groom players better. Like if you go back to the graph, you see there was a spike in T20s play in the year because it was leading up to a World Cup sorts. So
Yeah.
you wanted to play that many games. In one way, it is good that okay, you are preparing, you are probably playing what 10, 13 more games from the next best, which is a good number of games. But the problem there is, are you learning enough from those games? So
But
it, yeah,
yeah, no, I mean, I understand your point around T20s and just apologies for breaking your sentence
yeah.
uh, while you were speaking. But does it merit to play so many ODIs in that year when you're already playing more T20s than anyone else?
See, I think that is something again that gets discussed in when they make the FTP, and it's very hard to change that on the go. But even in that, I feel you can do far better in terms of using your players. Let's take an example of the squad that went to Bangladesh. Those are the times of the series where you know how much of importance is that tour for you to win the series or also give people chances. So if you have a set pool for T20s, you could try out a very different batch of players for those ODIs. We talked about entire A2s and all of that. We've talked at length about why domestic performers are not being picked. If you have such tours, let's say in this year, India are playing 5 T20s in West Indies.
Hmm.
You can use them as a precursor to the ODIs, which I don't think is a good way to go. But if you have a line of players ready for 2024, wherever it may be held, if you have a player pool ready, send them there. What England did to Bangladesh when they went to Bangladesh, they lost there. But they had a clear mind that this is a series that we're looking at as an experiment to grow our players, to see who fits where in what role, try out our backups. With Indian cricket, what happens is because we want to win everything, we want to play everything, we ensure that the same guys are going everywhere. So in the process, you're not only burning the players out, but you're not having replacements ready for your next batch of players.
Hmm. Yeah, Gurkirat.
Yeah, apart from the reasons that Nikhil mentioned, a very important factor here is that the cricketing economy also governs that the Indian team plays as much as possible, because we have had, when the COVID lockdown was there, and that South Africa and Australia and England pulled out of tours to South Africa, right? And Cricket South Africa were in a financial mess, and they needed India to tour, and India still toured and played a full tour. So that way, what all the boards know this, that if the Indian team is coming, you will get a lot more gate money, you will get a lot more sponsorships, you will be earning a lot more than what you would be earning otherwise. So, and this is what soft power in the sport is for BCCI, because they know that they'll travel and they will govern who will earn money where and when, is why they are also able to get all the boards on their sides, and get all kinds of lobbying which is possible from the other boards, because they know that when a board is in a financial distress, BCCI is the first board that any board will turn to. There's a reason why then India also toured Zimbabwe last year, and now India are touring West Indies, and uh, it's. I think apart from playing Afghanistan, India have played all the teams that are there, and India play the smaller nations far more than England or Australia, who are supposed to be the big three. So one of the main reasons why India play is because the cricketing economy needs India to play as much as possible. And like Nikhil said, there is also a hunger and a demand for it. Even if we might feel that there is too much cricket, there are still people who will, be
Yeah.
watching whatever game that is there. So it's just the demand of the cricketing
Mhm.
economy that India play as much as they do.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, it is leading to some certain amount of dilution in terms of overall cricket as a brand. But I mean, the point here is, do you guys feel that teams like England and Australia are not doing enough for other countries? Because we are very quick to criticize Indian cricket setup, but at the other end of the spectrum, India, by playing Ireland last year, by planning to play in Ireland this year as well, Afghanistan series would have gone ahead had India had a proper broadcaster logged in before time. But Australia refused to play Afghanistan in that home test, just because of them not allowing women's cricket. They just used it as an excuse, but they were all right to playing them when it comes to World Cup matches. So, do you think at some point of time it's rather more selfish of England and Australia, or I mean, selfish is a very it's a naive word, to be honest, because uh, maybe what they are doing is focusing more on what they need to do as a team, and not really focusing on what their contributions should be as a part of a big three. Because, like for example, like Australia are have gone to England for the Ashes, they might have as well taken a pit stop at any of the countries, right? Netherlands, Ireland, maybe, while coming back and play them out in a three-match series. It would have helped their team and their economy as well.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
so
think in yeah. Ajay, go ahead.
yeah, England still puts in a little bit of effort in these things because they still play an Ireland or Netherlands.
Yeah.
Sometimes they still allow for their cricketers to come and play in their domestic circuit, in the county circuit. Though it does have some negative ramifications as well, as we have seen in the qualifiers where county has not allowed some cricketers to go and play in the World Cup qualifiers. But Australia don't do that. I remember Jason Gillespie, when he was the coach of Papua New Guinea, giving this suggestion that maybe if Australian cricket allows for Papua New Guinea players to be somehow be incorporated in the Australian domestic structure, it will also help them improve as a cricket team. But Australia
Mhm.
didn't. So that way, I feel if we were to single out one team out of the big three, it will be Australia, who really don't like to play other teams outside of the big teams.
Hmm. True, and this is where I think kudos to BCCI, to be honest, for putting their bit for these smaller countries. Now, coming to the second part of this entire equation, how do you think, in terms of philosophy of team selection, these tours can be planned better? Because I just want to take one example, and I mean, we can agree to disagree, but in my opinion, the only reason Deepak Hooda was there in the T20 squad was because he got 100 against Ireland. But do you feel at certain level there is not enough weightage distribution when it comes to these tours, that there are certain tours where performances should not weigh as much as they should be done for other tours, or even the team selection for that matter? I mean, would you rather use certain tours to use your fringe players and play only those main players who are coming out of an injury or are out of form? I mean, I don't know. I just feel things at the moment are a little haphazard. And as always, we have ranted in the first two episodes, communication and transparency is completely lacking.
Yeah, I think there is enough room to adjust the importance of tools and also take into consideration what kind of format you are playing them in. Like say India played Australia in the recent ODI series, and they lost it 2-1.
Hmm.
So you then take care of it that okay, this is just before an ODI World Cup, pretty much the same batting, if not the same bowling. How is your team shaping up? So when we talk about scheduling and importance, the BCCI already knows these are the set of games that are going to play. As we discussed just a while back, it is about time, probably 2 years late only, that you take care of the people in a way that if the world we discussed this for the West Indies tour selection, right? That if the guys who are playing the World Cup need to be managed better, that you don't get them injured. You already
Hmm.
have a long list of important players who are missing these games because of injury. So first
Yeah.
step, in my opinion, is to take care of the fitness status of these people. That for this World Cup, what is the injury status of the 15 or the 25 people that we need on urgent basis? Then you start to give people importance that okay, these guys, this is the series that is important, and then you play them there. So like we gave the example of England in Bangladesh, India, or even Australia, when they came to Bangladesh, they had a completely different T20 squad. So it's
Hmm.
not that it doesn't help them. And the one line that often very much plays a part in Indian cricket is you win bilaterals, they say you don't win knockouts. You don't win bilaterals here, now you're not winning bilaterals also. So when that communication, of course, comes clear that okay, this is an Ireland tour. This is why we are taking this set of players with us. This is the general idea. So then
Hmm.
what that will do is it will give everybody a clear idea both in the system and around it, that this is the way we are planning the series. So don't always just look at the result. It's very important to see if
Yeah.
Sanju Samson and Akshar Patel can do what they did maybe against West Indies or against
Hmm.
Zimbabwe. Those are the kind of smaller things that you can take care of so that you have players ready even in worst case of your main players getting injured.
Hmm. Yeah, I think in all this, trying to be very, very opaque with your communication, somehow the Indian cricket team as a whole are not winning the narrative battle. You see England on the other hand, even while losing two games, they have that narrative game sorted that we are actually winning this. And on the other hand, India end up achieving a lot, but yet because they just don't feel like communicating anything to the fans. I mean, they know that fans would be there; they'll come to watch no matter what. They just lose this narrative battle.
And whatever is good left in that narrative battle without any communication uh, is then completely shattered and completely discredited through fan wars or through ghostwriting.
Absolutely, yeah,
So okay, this series was won under Virat, so
yeah.
Rohit shouldn't get credit. This
Hmm.
series was won under Rohit, so Virat shouldn't get credit. Rohit and Virat couldn't do this, and this proves that MS Dhoni is the greatest captain. So, I mean, you will not
Arre,
see.
but why are you taking one name? The team wins the trophy. Kya, Paji? You don't even know that kya?
Those are words of some other Paji, not mine. But okay. But what I'm trying to tell is that you will not see. So, England cricket is a perfect example of this. I don't see any tweets of any England cricket fan or any England cricket journalist, shitting on Joe Root's captaincy,
Hmm.
or saying that. And there is so much of respect that you see from Joe Root as well towards Stokes' leadership. You don't you I've hardly seen, and I don't see that with with Australian fans either, that they keep saying, oh, you know uh, Pat Cummins is not deserving of the captain. Yes, there is criticism which should be there, but there are no such fan wars,
Hmm.
that whatever
Hmm.
good is left, then you try to destroy it through these petty things.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think to summarize what Gurkir is saying, at the moment it just seems like that whatever is going on in Indian cricket is just a representation of the society that we are living in. Uh, I'll just take one more step forward in our discussion. Now, we talked about why India plays so much, how England and Australia are maybe Australia are not contributing enough to other teams' cause, and then what can be done to assign weightages to different series. My next question to you guys is planning. Now, the reason for us to have these three episodes was what transpired after the WTC. The same people who were on our TVs for 60 days during the IPL ended up blaming the IPL. That, oh, you can't have this tournament played like 7 days after the IPL. You can't expect players to turn up. Oh, it was so close to the IPL. They need to take a call. And during the IPL, everyone was shut. The dates for the WTC final were out about 6-8 months in advance, even before the IPL schedule came out. Did anyone did anyone take a call then? I mean, we heard Rohit Sharma saying that we would be managing workload during the IPL. Was it ever done? I mean, we'll come to the player specific workload management in the later half, but what my basic question to you guys is, don't you think it's pretty naive that once you know that this this final is going to be played on a certain day, you would need certain amount of time for your players to be acclimatized to that particular tournament? Why wasn't there a case of being a little more flexible with the IPL, either starting it early, maybe scrapping that ODI series against Australia, which frankly speaking no one even remembers now, or including more double headers in the IPL and ensuring that the tournament itself got over a week in advance?
Yeah, so all of this looks very good in theory, and it is not practical for a, or I wouldn't say practical. I think there are probably no intentions to do it, because if you shorten the tournament, then you again lose out on money. Broadcasters will start creating issues. Sponsors will maybe start creating issues. So at this point of time, I think it's fair to say that IPL is a huge priority in Indian cricket. It is going to stay that way. And blaming IPL for the results that you have in international cricket is just a very easy cop out. It makes absolutely zero sense, because uh, you could say that there are a few things wrong with the IPL, but there is no denying the fact that you get a lot of talents as well. And currently, even your selection in other formats is also governed to some extent from the IPL, because you get to face more quality bowling attacks, especially in case of batters. So it's just childish to blame the IPL after something has happened. Yes, maybe the scheduling could have been done better, and the cricketers would have been allowed more time. But like I said, there I don't see the IPL shortening. What could have been done is that you could have scrapped the Australia series and moved the IPL forward. Also, Rohit Sharma or any other captain talking about managing the workloads or anything is just, I just feel it's not feasible, because what people also need to understand is that a Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, a Jasprit Bumrah, or any top cricketer, or even an MS Dhoni, whosoever is you would say is an elite Indian cricketer right now, that cricketer can afford to miss the IPL, right? But the loss, or the consequences of top cricketers missing the IPL would be borne, or would be hurt, or would be felt by the broadcasters and probably the BCCI a lot more than by that player himself. Because what people forget is that these are cricketers contracted by the BCCI, and the IPL is a BCCI tournament. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not just up to the player, that the player wants to take a rest from the IPL. It's a very idealistic suggestion that players should take rest from the IPL. It's not a practical suggestion, because of the powers and factors in play that are there. And mm, it's one thing to say that yes, we'll try and manage the workloads in the IPL, but it's not going to happen. The
But then why
franchisee,
say it? But then why say it? Why make a fool out of the fans who are watching you? Why setting certain expectations when you have known for 15 years that you have zero control? You might be the captain of this team, but you have zero authority.
because lies sell in India and across the
That's,
world.
I mean, it again comes down to making a fool out of fans, right?
But they're
It's a,
also ready to be fooled somewhere,
yeah.
which is why like yesterday, uh, there was a lot of discussion, and people discussing that Ajit Agarkar has now become the chief of selectors. Okay, good appointment. I like him because I feel he's a good reader of the game. But to me, it's again a distraction from the real issues, because as long as there is no accountability, or there is no transparency in the process, you could make Ajit Agarkar the selector, you could make uh, any other Ranji cricketer, or any other former cricketer, or anyone else the selector. It is not going to make a difference, because everything is opaque right now, and at the same time it is random. So as long as these issues, as long as the process is not sorted, the personnel can't really make a difference, is what I feel.
True, but I mean, talking about the processes, then why this right is reserved for other players? We saw Stokes literally chilling for those 1.5 month period in the CSK camp. We've seen Pat Cummins playing IPL whenever he feels like, whenever he feels that there is a lot of workload, I'll just skip that season, and he know that there is a 15 crore contract waiting for him whenever he tries to play again. So why is this entire system being designed in a way that it's actually ending up hurting Indian cricket while not being equally, you know?
Damaging.
Not, no, that's not the word I'm trying to use. Why not being equally, strict for players of the other countries, that if you are contracted, if you skip it, then you won't be allowed to play for 2 years or something like that. I mean, if you are playing, just play.
Again, it
why
comes
is
down
that the why is that the case that players from other boards are allowed to rest during the IPL but not Indian cricketers?
because again, I don't think that the BCCI can control when and where would the foreign players will be available to play, right? And then the foreign cricketers that you mentioned, they are also pretty much elite cricketers. They know that whenever they are available in the auction, they will get a premium, right? A Ben Stokes will get a premium, even though T20 is not his best format. So, or Pat Cummins for sure, because the skill that they provide, they also know it's not easily available in the domestic market. So the rules are actually different because, like I said, the BCCI can't really control what the overseas cricketers would do or what their priority would be, but they have pretty much a more control over the Indian cricketers, and that's how it would be. I mean, Cricket
And it
Australia,
is, and Cricket Australia also made David Warner play the BBL. They made
yeah,
Steve Smith play the BBL for the very same reason.
That's hardly a few games, right? They were not playing the
Yeah, but
entire tournament.
but
no, but
see,
what
that's
I'm
the
trying
thing.
to
They
say
have,
is that the control
yeah,
would work like that only. The
yeah.
Cricket Australia can have a hold over what their players will do, despite them having a players association, but they can't govern or control what the Indian players would do. Like
True,
if
but then at the end of the day, it's BCCI's product, it's BCCI's players, and what you say is BCCI can control this, but they don't want to because they don't want to lose out on the broadcasting value of the tournament. That's
yeah,
the bottom line. Now,
yeah,
I have a question for Nikhil now. Ultimately, what this tells me is it comes down to the players. And what I understand is so far, no matter how big the cricketers are, none of the Indian cricketers have set the right example by following the leads of other Australian or English cricketers that this is a very big tournament, which is right after the IPL. I want to win this for my country. And to be honest, at this point of time, I just feel that there has been no cricketer in the past few years who has set the right example of trying to manage his workload during the IPL.
So I don't think it's possible for the player to take that call,
Whose
especially
call is
in
it then? Whose call? I mean,
the board.
no, no. How? Again, क्या बात कर रहा है? अभी गुरकीरत ने बोला कि it's not board's call. Now, hear me out.
See, the
Last year,
board
last
cannot
year,
control.
last year,
Yeah,
Mumbai Indians lost 8 matches. They were out of the tournament by 8 games. Still, Bumrah
yeah,
played 14 games. Now, ideally,
yeah,
he should not have been playing those 6 games. The team is
yeah,
already out. There is a
yeah.
guy who is struggling with back issues. Why is he
Correct.
playing it? If he let's say if he says that I'm not going to play these 6 games, will Mumbai release him? Will they release him? Will they risk releasing a Jasprit Bumrah? Will he not come at a premium? Will any other team not latch onto him and be ready to pay 20 crores for him next year if he wants to come back?
see,
I
See,
mean, it's
there
just
are
about
here
not.
there
It's
are
just
no,
about.
no,
It is just about not having a big enough heart to set the right
no, no.
example. You can just go
See,
on to say that my priority is this, that, and that, but no, it's not true. Ultimately, it's
no,
about you
so
know
like
that your brand value at this point of time, the brand value of any Indian cricketer is governed by the IPL.
100, that is true. See, there are few cricketers who can take that call,
But
but
none has taken it, right? Even if, let's say, if Cheteshwar Pujara was bought by any team for 50 lakhs to warm the bench, he would have warmed the bench instead of going and play county cricket this season. That's a
he did
fact.
that. He did that in 2021.
Yeah,
He
he
did
would
that
have
in
done it
2021.
again this year,
Yeah, yeah,
even though
yeah,
he
yeah.
is he's almost was on the
100%.
verge of losing his test spot.
See, there is prestige attached to it, no doubt about it. And yes, there are players who I feel maybe somewhat have the power to take that call, but then who wants to be in the bad books of BCCI?
I mean,
see
ultimately, it's
again,
about setting the
if
right
you
example, right?
see, I don't think we need to look at it from a very practical point of view. That the way our society and we work as a work culture as well, the employee is not going to ever have enough power to tell the employer that this is the time I want to not take off. This is your best time of the week. I may be good enough to earn even if I don't play the tournament. And to be honest, it is not going to solve the problem immediately. Just to be very, very clear, I don't think Shami not playing the IPL would have made him bowl full. We discussed this in the past as well.
No,
The
it's not about this,
the problem,
Nikhil. I think you are approaching it the wrong way. It's all about. I mean,
no, no,
India
I'm
didn't.
saying Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma can take a break from the IPL, but I don't think it would have resulted in India winning the World Test Championship. What I'm coming to
How can
is
you say that? How can you say that if they were there a
because it
month
won't make
before
Virat Kohli
this?
have a back foot game suddenly. It is
I
not
mean,
going to make Rohit
that's
Sharma.
that's a separate issue, right? It would give him time off to work on it.
So what this brings to the fore is the need for having a players association, and having a players association in Indian cricket is something that has been discussed before also, when because we had examples where this time it's the WTC, but I remember very clearly after the 2009 IPL there was the World T20 scheduled right after.
It's
Virender Sehwag
it's the
was
same next year. It's the same
yeah.
next year.
So Virender Sehwag was
Yeah,
carrying a
yeah.
shoulder injury while he was playing for Delhi, that shoulder injury got aggravated, and he couldn't play a single game in the 2009 World T20. And I think something similar happened in the 2010 World T20 as well, where the IPL was preceding the World T20. So this is where you need a players association, where you have that association to have some kind of voice, to stand up and argue for the sake of players as a body. And it is something which which Cricket Australia has, because there was a huge conflict back in 2018 2019 about the contract salaries for the cricketers, and the cricketers were openly taking a stance.
Yeah.
At present, Indian cricketers cannot take a stance. Indian male cricketers are not able to speak for their female counterparts, right? How many
Yeah.
cricketers did you see talk about the need of having a women's IPL and having it sooner? It was only Ravichandran Ashwin. So uh, what you are saying, Somesh, is something which is ideal, and which is what should happen in an ideal setting. But since the setting is not ideal, is why we have this situation where we are talking about the correction of the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What you are
See,
saying,
what I also think can definitely happen is, as you said, we knew the WTC was going to happen in June. You knew there was going to be limited window. What you need is firstly the system to be in such a place that every year WTC will be there in June itself. So you either, as you said, you either start the IPL earlier, or if the system is in place, your pool is ready, then none of those test contracted players should be part of the IPL. They should be paid in equal sum to ensure that people are also prioritizing that. As you said, you want to set the right example that, okay, I want to win the WTC, have a separate test squad. We talked about contract system, central
Yeah.
contracts, and all of that. This can be part of it. Have a system in place which ensures that a Cheteshwar Pujara is still well off, even if he's only playing Test cricket and not playing the IPL. What that will do is it will help the players make this decision better, even if they don't always have the entire control over it. That it's okay if I don't play the IPL. See that the reason why Ben Stokes, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark can opt out of the IPL is they are well to do. That is not the case with a lot or the majority of the people.
Yeah,
So
but I
if
mean,
they if
we're talking about the main test players at the moment, right? We're talking about Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Mohammad Shami. These are all well off.
so,
I mean, they don't
so
need one
again,
season of IPL salary to.
this is why again that first question: do you need all your test players to play the IPL?
I mean, the point is, it's about sometimes you have to think on your feet, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like, I
proactive.
mean,
Yes, yes.
we'll come back to that point itself, that you always knew what the WTC dates were.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not like your test players shouldn't play IPL at all. They should, obviously, everyone should be playing that tournament. But when you have a future tournament coming so close, then there has to be a plan in place. I mean, the point is, you can't say things in hindsight. The same people who were at almost 25 tosses celebrating IPL then come out and say, oh, it was so close to the IPL, they should have planned better. I mean, say it up front.
yeah, that's a very easy cop
That
out. Like I said,
yeah.
But
because
isn't it common sense? I mean, it's an easy cop out, but it's common sense, right? I mean, next year you have World Cup in June. Why to have IPL ending till 31st May?
yeah, but common sense kahan itni common hai? We know that by experience already. It's a very see. Also, what doesn't help is we have so many ex-cricketers who are commentating while during the IPL, saying that it's a gift to the world cricket, it will give them talent, etc., etc., and just blow that IPL trumpet for 60 days. And after that 60 days, forget what they said literally a week ago, and then start blaming the IPL. Because see, at that point of time, it's an easy target. ठीक है, I'll say this. My comment will generate articles. My comment will generate eyeballs. I have nothing to lose anyway, because my commentary contract is not going anywhere. So again, it doesn't make sense. Yes, it lacks common sense, but it sells. It sells because people are ready to after a loss, fans are ready to
Yeah.
find a scapegoat.
Hmm.
As long as you are able to provide the mob of fans who's looking to find a scapegoat, you will be able to get away with real issues. And so far, that has been happening, and it's happening in a very systematic way. अभी IPL को blame कर दिया, कभी किसी को कर दिया, ठीक है. People will also keep fighting among themselves.
Yeah, but I mean, all of this begs me to ask a question that till these issues are sorted, I mean, should we as fans should, I mean, start realizing the fact that at this point of time, certain tournaments take precedence. Like, for example, players might not, you know, pick their country over their IPL team at the moment. And if they're not ready to do it, I mean, we as fans also should start tweaking our expectations.
Yeah, I
Because
think it was
ultimately, even the BCCI does not want that, because we are getting comments on the amount paid, and of course, broadcasters will have their say in everything. So ultimately, then what's the point, right?
See, being a fan is very tricky, uh, because as a viewer you want to be logical and practical, but the emotions that you have inside will not allow you to be, that practical. You would want कि अच्छा, मैं जिस IPL team को support करता हूँ, they should win the IPL as well, and then they should come back and win the trophy, the international trophy as well. And yeah, that is how things should happen. But yeah, so yes, somewhere expectations have to be corrected, and there has to be realization. I mean, a very good example of this is the qualifiers. There is no other sport or no other world body of any sport that will try and reduce the spread of the game that they are governing, like how ICC have done in the last 10 years, reducing the
Mhm.
World Cup to a 10 team event. And that is when they have a Champions Trophy, which is an 8 team event already. So yes, I mean, there are few harsh realities and harsh truths of the game that you have to expect, and then at the same time hope that something works out, and it works out for the best. But yes, you cannot escape realities, and it would serve you better if your expectations are in check accordingly, right? And again, as a fan, it's a process, because there will be a few disappointments on the way, but then you will come to the ultimate realization. Now, for me, I'll not take the example of the Indian team. I'll take the example of the IPL. For me, this IPL was about preparing for the worst because of what had been happening with Delhi Capitals, and this is why I wasn't as disappointed. I was just shitting on them all the time. So वो आपको कहीं ना कहीं करना पड़ेगा. And there are times where I feel, as fans, regardless of what sport we watch, or uh, whatever team you support or whatever club you support, there are times I think where you do fall out of love with your favorite player or your favorite club team or your favorite international teams. And I feel that's a journey of being a fan. So that has to happen, and it will happen. No one can stop it.
Hmm. Yeah, again comes back to the point that we discussed. I think was it the first or the second episode when we talked about prioritizing a particular trophy, right? Right now, the biggest concern for the team as well and the fans as well, that it's like India trying to win everything. They somehow try to see, keep, let's doctor the home pitches so that we reach the final. फाइनल के लिए रेडी है नहीं है, दैट इज अ डिफरेंट स्टोरी. इफ द फाइनल इज 6 days after the IPL final, doesn't matter. We'll cross that bridge when we reach there. Let's try to win the T20 tournament as well. Let's try to win the white ball tournament as well. So I think somehow even the planning in that regard can be better, that everyone understands that IPL is a very big deal, as it should be, because it has done a lot more for cricket than, I mean, what has been done before that. But after that, I think it has come to a point where, at least for the fans, that approach is needed, where you clearly demarcate that this is our priority and we want to win this.
Yeah, and also see that again, like the comment that we have here, that some prefer the IPL over international cricket. You have to realize players have a very short shelf life. Not all of them are going to be elite to be able to say that it's okay for me to not have ambitions for the. And again, you have to see the competition that they are playing with. So what you have to be very sure of is that player good, always going to get a chance to play for the country? If not, if he's preferring T20 league, it's not right, it's not wrong. Because eventually that's what we do as well when we look out for work, that we look at options and we see which is the one that we are going to benefit the most from, and it's mutual from both ends. So that notion also has to stop, that if only you prefer the country, are you going to be a good cricketer? I think we had this discussion in the first episode as well, where the insistence of wanting all. See, I think the problem arises where we put players on a pedestal where we expect them to be perfect. They're never going to be. We want them to lead the way, we want them to show the path, but it's not necessary for them to do that. Eventually, they are there to make a living and they are in a privileged position to do that, but it will not always coincide that what you think of them may not always
Hmm.
be what they think of themselves at that point of time. We've heard numerous stories of former players across sports in this very nation. They are struggling with their livelihood. So it is not that we should not put it toward with the people that okay, why are you preferring that? Eventually it's a professional call that okay, I think this is going to earn me enough livelihood to have a distant future, and which is why it's a cycle. You go back to the system. If you have a good enough system to take care of everybody who's part of it, whether it's a beginner or say a guy like a Ambati Raidu who has to retire to play the MLC, if you take care of the entire flow, everything will fall in place. You will not have players to skip tours. You'll be able to give people enough rest, and this quarrel of country over club will not come to force so much that people are always fighting that this guy Bumrah is fit for Mumbai but not for the IPL.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
I
a
think
call that he can take.
totally agree. I mean, and spot on. But I at this point of time, it just feels like the worst of all worlds because you
Yeah, of course.
want. I mean, you at one point you want you sell this product, the IPL, as an employment opportunity. On the other hand, you don't allow players to be free enough to play in other leagues. Then you're not thinking of players' welfare at the end of the day. You're thinking about your brand. Because if
See,
that's the
eventually, I think
case,
it's a very short term goal. If you see from every angle, from a business angle, from a player development angle as well, that your only immediate motive is even with the team. Let's Dr. Bitches get to the WTC final. Are you looking at whether you are growing skills of players? Are you sending people out on A2s to grow them? You are saying no, I'll not tell people to different parts of the world. But if you go there and play the World Cup, your players are not accustomed to playing in that region, and then you
yeah,
expect them to learn of it in just 2 weeks of time. That okay, change your natural length, go bowl full
hmm,
here because this is what is required. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
the system that has to have a larger picture in front of them.
And this is just about what we had discussed in the first episode, that right now there is no direction. It's just, BCCI is just like a headless chicken at this moment. I mean, if I was the selector, I would straight away, now that West Indies is not coming to the World Cup, I would straight away pull out Mohammad Siraj from the ODI series. There is absolutely no point of him playing the ODI series because you can't drop him in the Test series. He's going to play both the Test matches because there is no Mohammad Shami. Might as well bring out Mohammad Siraj and test. Give opportunities to Umran, give opportunities to Shardul, and then decide who you want to play between Unadkat and Mukesh. Because Siraj has been on the road since the Bangladesh tour. He's played every game, every match. There is nothing to gain right now by Mohammad Siraj playing in the, if not the, I can understand him playing T20s, but there is absolutely nothing to gain by with Mohammad Siraj playing the ODI series. If you want to pull him out of the
And
T20 series because it's going to follow, like, T20 series is going to follow the ODIs, might as well do that and give him that break because he
hmm,
deserves it. And
yeah.
you have so many, you've at least four players from your potential starting 11 already on the bench injured. Why do you want
Hmm.
to take that risk with Siraj anyway? So
And they'll need Siraj in the Asia Cup as well. It's not like that he can have a rest period after the West Indies series.
And
Yeah,
see
yeah,
here
true.
also, where you see the problem with the functioning of everything that is happening is a broadcaster is getting you to decide that you should not play a ODI series versus Afghanistan. That series is going to be those three games would give India far more look into that how are they going to play people with good decent spin attack on Indian decks or whichever kind of surfaces that you get on. The team
Hmm.
would learn far more than going into West Indies and playing on completely different set of surfaces. So all of this has to be it cannot be that you are the richest board in the country in this system, but you can't figure out a broadcaster deal in time. It's just again very short term planning.
Hmm. So, I mean, to wrap this entire three-part series up, do you think Indian cricket is fixable, or or has
It
that ship
is.
sailed?
Then it is. It always is. Of course, I think India are in a privileged position to be able to say that we are able that we can fix it. It is never going to be immediate, but the thing is, it has to start from the top. It is not possible to fix this system bottom down. You have to start from the top. The initiative, the system has to be in place right from the top to take care of everybody who's part of the system, right from your domestic setup, your NCA, your A tours, your IPL. Everything has to be part of a larger picture that this is what we want to do for the next 5 years. These are the three major points that we want to focus on. Then you go about making a player pool, and then you have the privilege to do that. Please do it.
Yeah, Gurkirat, your take, your final word.
I hope Avnish doesn't, does what he did last time around when I am speaking and cuts out the show. But yeah, I mean, a lot to agree with what Nikhil said. It is fixable because there is no dearth of resources in terms of talent or in terms of money. What is missing is the right intent. You have to first identify that there are problems. Right now, I feel uh, it's all you're trying to protect your mistakes. You're trying to paper over the cracks, and as long as you will try to paper over the cracks, you maybe get some short term benefits, but in the long term those cracks will come out wide open and will expose you uh, at the worst time possible. So it is fixable, but like I said, the intent has to be there. uh, Hopefully if the intent is there, we will see changes, because without that it's difficult. Because like there's a reason why Nikhil said that the bottom to top approach cannot happen right now, because the office bearers right now in the BCCI, they have too much power over even the elite cricketers. So you can't expect those who are anyway struggling to find a place or struggling to make a name for themselves to then try and bring some sort of revolution. It can't really happen then. When you're struggling for your basic needs, you can't think about revolution.
Yeah, I mean, well said. And yeah, these shows were a good time for us to also brainstorm a few things which can be done in this period of lull. Are there any good questions that you guys might want to take?
Let's see.
Yeah.
I like Mehul Sangani's comment. जैसा जैसा चल रहा है चलने दो.
जैसा चल रहा है चलने दो में तो चले. The problem is जैसा चल रहा है वैसा नहीं चल रहा था. The only reason why we are doing this conversation is because I've somehow felt that in the past couple of years Indian cricket as a whole has gone behind then forward. We were doing so good as a test team. Even the white ball setup did not have so many sort of holes that it appears now. And suddenly with Bumrah and Pant injured, it just seems like this. We were never ready for injury to these two players.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think a lot of it. I think at every point, say in 2015 or in 2017 or in 2019, you felt that India, I would say India have gone on to underachieve in terms of work from what they have, and that process has started from that point of time. Very post 2015, maybe you had enough players as a larger pool to pick from, and you
Hmm.
felt that okay, now is the time where Indian cricket can have enough games which may feel over or too many to others, but if you use them very smartly, you can paper over cracks. But I think there have been multiple factors, be it the pressure to win the big games and the maybe clutching to the last straw, that you drop Jadeja and Ashwin and then you go back to them. You pick Chehel and then you drop him again. Then you say I want batting and then you go back to being conservative. So you feel it's a cycle with very obvious flaws, but nobody has been able to see it. I don't know why, or maybe it's just us who's seeing it like that. But you feel, and it is why we feel that it is fixable, that
Hmm.
because the issues are there in front of you, acknowledging them would be the first step, and then the results, the solutions will come from there.
Hmm. I want to take this comment from Pranav. Joined late. Did you guys talk about India's emerging Asia Cup side? No, Pranav, we did not. We were talking about bigger issues. Tilak Verma could have been there. See, I have a theory here. I think Tilak Verma is not there because he's most likely to be selected in India's T20 team for the West Indies.
Yeah.
That is again my assumption of him not being there, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense. Coming to the West Indies series, I have a question for you guys. Given we have agreed that IPL is already the beyond and end all of Indian cricket. So it just then it's almost commonsensical that T20 World Cups should be India's topmost priority, because then you're naturally more prepared for it. You have the best tournament in the world. Given that in mind, and given 2024, shouldn't the squad that will be selected for the West Indies be 90% composing of the players that you feel are actually going to play in that tournament?
Yeah, of course. In an ideal world, that's
It's
what
common
that is
sense,
what
right? I mean, not even ideal. Is it common
it
sense or
is.
not,
It
or
is.
does
It is.
it sound like a common sense thing only to me?
No, it is a rhetorical question. It is how it should be, but it is not going to be, because even till the time the tournament comes, you will not know whether the senior players are rested or dropped, or
Yeah,
people have moved
of
on.
course, of course.
And here we are not,
Or is Rohit Sharma still the T20 captain,
or
I mean,
Hardik.
who's gonna be a captain when the World Cup actually comes, like, next year?
Exactly. So it is again part of the entire rant that we've had. Okay, you communicate and see. I think the problem that also leads to a lot of these fan wars and ghost writing is the lack of accountability and transparency. If you tell it out in the open, there is nothing that anybody else can do. But because you never tell it out in the open, it is always the case that you're always speculating. Even if you take the women squad selection that's there, you don't have Richa Ghosh there, you don't have a few more players there, but you have no clue why they're not there.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you will ever hear about it. So it is definitely a direct case that okay, this is the World Cup, you plan for it, and then you have a again. I don't think the venue is decided yet in terms of confirmation that this is where the World Cup will be played. So maybe that's what the response will be, that let the venue get decided first, and then we'll anyways have a last minute call that we'll call up a guy who's not played cricket for us for 2 years in that format, and then he will come and do it because he has experience.
Of course, I think.
I am totally prepared for a similar comment for Rohit Sharma that we heard before the 2020 World One
He's
T20
rested.
World T20 for Shikhar. Shikhar Dhawan was rested. Rohit Sharma
Yeah,
might
yeah.
just be given a break. I'm totally prepared for that.
You know, talking about random reports, I read a report. I read a piece in Dainik Bhaskar. I don't know if I should be saying that name out loud or not. Ajinkya Rahane is in contention for the World Cup squad in the middle order role, and I was like, "What?"
Right.
But yeah,
Again, cannot you will not be surprised, because again it is, see, it is one thing that it's a pet peeve that I've had with Indian cricket, that you use players in their best form. But the problem with that is you have to also look in terms of a larger picture than just your immediate step. I think Indian cricket, as in a general, has been very fixated with what can I do today. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Let's see what can I do today to get through today, and that approach is what is costing India in a lot of facets in that white ball and red ball format as well. That as of now, I'm just looking at Jadeja and Ashwin. What if both of them get injured? You have no plan. You're doomed. So
hmm.
I don't know when that realization will kick in and when they'll start replanning about that who next. But if they don't act now, then as you said, the slide will be too far deep. Like hopefully we don't go the West Indies way.
Hmm.
It's a very long shot, but
Yeah.
you don't want to
I
go down
mean,
that route.
I also want to take this uh, comment by Greg that international cricket is slowly dying. England and Australia care about Ashes, and this is my exact worry, Greg. That I don't want cricket to be in a situation where Test cricket is only limited to the Ashes. I don't want to be cricket to come to a situation where there is not a competent Test side from an Indian perspective. They go back to the olden times when India are good at home, but away they just don't have any planning, any resources, or any players who are even interested to succeed in away conditions, because that would be a day. If let's say if Test cricket, at least from an Indian perspective, dies, I just in my heart I don't see any reason to keep following the sport. I don't know about you guys. Maybe Nikhil will definitely will. I don't know how strongly Gurkirat feels
Nikhil
about
is
Test
waiting
cricket.
for the day Kanga League gets televised. He already has his 11 fantasy teams set. आज कांगा
See
लीग
it.
नहीं मैं खेलूंगा.
See, I think the growing of the game part, it comes from a very good heart from all of us as cricket lovers. But I think it'll take a lot more from the businessmen who run the sport to understand that the game has to grow. So till the time that doesn't come through, because as of now, even the businessmen who are running the sport are not worried about marketing it well. I think Test cricket still offers you a lot more than some at times than how it actually pans out. But the thing is, it is never marketed well. It's never built up in a way that you look forward to that event. I mean, a very good comment. Even let's take the WTC for example. You are playing WTC in June in final only because that's the only time you are less likely to deal with any other league going on. So isn't that hampering the process of the need of having a World Test Championship? That you are saying that you can fight all over the world, but eventually you'll have to play the final in this one country in this early season because there is no other slot possible. Are you going to tell that a 1 week window is not possible for every team to keep open in their best time of the year for a one test match? So I think the cleanup or a reset even for Test cricket has to start from the ICC, and that whatever is coming in, you have to market it in a way that you want to look forward to a Zimbabwe Scotland knockout. It has to be hyped up in that way. A TNPL having a a system of reviews, but ICC qualifiers will have reviews only from Super 6. It makes no sense. So the priorities have to be sorted at a lot of different levels for the game to start growing and not look ahead of just the top three people dominating. Yeah, actually, I don't think India will go West Indies route just immediately. But my
Of
point
course.
is, if there is no direction, as of now, you're not winning anything. West Indies have
No,
won more titles.
ultimately, actually, the point is the route that entire cricket universe will go is there will be only T20s. Because, I mean, at this point of time, ODI is fighting for survival. If England and Australia are the only two teams who are prepared for away test tours, then test as well, might as well, as a format, will start losing its relevance. So, the bottom line
And
would be India would always be dominant, but then you'll have to live with the fact that it's just T20s we're talking about.
yeah, and also for the point about Australia and England do. When have you last? I mean, this is the first time. Good time to plug in. It's the first time that Australia are 2-0 up in an Ashes series in England since 2001. That was the last time they actually won a series. England have won only very less times in Australia. So even that series, the biggest hyped series that's there, with everything going around it, even that is very home dominated, and you very often you see one-sided games happening there. So, but then it doesn't mean that their former players ridicule their own players, saying that Arey, Joe Root is scoring runs at home only. James Anderson is taking wickets only if there is cloud or there is green pitches. See, that is the culture that also has to change.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
you have to start
totally agree.
respecting home conditions and people winning at home and not take it for granted. If India go there I mean, there are people who tell that okay, you are not winning knockouts, but this team also won 2 series in Australia, and it's no mean feat. There have been legends and greats of the game who have not won series in Australia. So that pain, you ask them the pain, they will know it. But it has to have the context that why is it important to win there, and how can you build a market then that okay now say every year the WTC final is in different countries. That's how you will grow the game. You'll get people to come to watch. If India and England play in West Indies, you give them a spicy wicket at Barbados. See how it pans out. What's the harm in trying?
True, and I think for that, even the management has to respect the team a lot more. I mean, give the team proper wickets on home series, right? Don't expect them to not win if the conditions are normal, even at home. I mean, just imagine if this India Australia series would have played on better pitches, and I don't know what others feel. Those rank turners are stupid pitches. I mean, give them proper 5-day wickets, and I mean that series, no one will even remember that series 2 years down the line. And these are the two sides which have given so many memorable series across the board.
Rank turners also reduce the gulf between Ashwin Jadeja and others.
Yeah.
There is you can't really judge how well a spinner or has performed on those pitches, because on the toughest pitch that was there in that BGT, which was in Ahmedabad, which was the flattest pitch, Ashwin showed what he was, and others weren't even a
Yeah.
shade on him. And that's
Actually, Indian management will be surprised that off spinners are taking wickets in England, because Ashley Gardner is taking wickets. Nathan Lang, Todd
I'm-
Murphy could well take a fifer.
I mean, lately I've been reading that book by Bharat on that 2020 series. I'm going back to watch all the highlights and the loop and the everything that Ashwin produced in that series, and I'm like, how does he not play every test that India plays? I'll take
And
this one comment which is slightly irrelevant. No, Nikhil, I mean, Just feel free to
No,
add
no,
on.
again, just to clear that part, it's not that we are saying that the player on the bench is better than the guys playing. The problem
Yeah.
there is the process that is followed and the logic and the rationale behind leaving out that player. That is the only point of debate.
And why does horses for courses apply only for bowlers? I mean, it should apply for batters as well. If certain batter has not
It does.
performed well,
It does. It does for select players where you can when you can signal from the dressing room that why are you defending, go and hit.
yeah.
It works. It works for some players.
Okay, perhaps the last question before we end this entire series, and please, guys, who've been patient enough to bear with our rants for this episode and also the previous one, just please do like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. This one last comment, which is slightly controversial, but I mean, I just want to end it on a very, I don't know, I mean, a rumor note.
See, the players that you've mentioned, I don't think they get dropped anyway when they're fit. So
Hmm.
uh, that's the thing. But I don't think it's going to work like that. That they will never get dropped for a series on Star, because yeah, there have been home series where I don't think the likes of Virat have played. He's taken breaks because it happened. It definitely used to happen when Virat was the full time captain. So
Hmm.
I don't think that it would, that the broadcaster will have control to this extent.
Yeah.
But the players that you've mentioned about, they are anyway your top players. If and when they are available for selection, they will get selected.
And also, KL was dropped in the middle of the series, Australia series.
Yeah. I'm actually very interested to know what happens with KL's test spot when he's fit. Does he walk back to the 11? Is
But
he the
where is
vice?
he? Didn't
Is
he
he the
already
vice
lose that
captain?
spot?
Sorry,
Didn't he
he,
already
he
lose
he
his
lost
spot?
his place in the 11.
Yeah.
But who knows, if he comes back, he might be the vice captain. I don't know.
Yeah, even captain, if both captain and vice captain are injured, you never know. You never know with India, and that's why we are discussing what we have been discussing for 3 weeks now. Guys, thank you so much for giving your time. Like I said, just please interact with this video as much as you can, and also give us thoughts on kind of stuff that you want to hear from us. Feel free to check out other videos as well. We are filling this void with a few Ashes videos, everyday reels, and also certain videos on this day. We'll be back during the West Indies tour with day reviews. Yeah, you heard that right. We would be here at 3:30 a.m. reviewing each day of the test, and hopefully we'll see some young blood performing and giving us hopes about India's future in Test cricket. Till then, it's goodbye from me and Nikhil Gurkar. We'll see you soon.
See you.
Bye.